For this video, we're going to be discussing solving multi-step equations. So to solve a multi-step equation, we're going to be working the order of operations backwards. So we're just going to start at the end of the order of operations and work our way back to the beginning. And we have to remember, it's very important that anything that is done to one side of an equation must be done to the other side of the equation. For example, if I've got an equation that looks like x plus 5 equals 7, and I subtract 5 on the left-hand side, I have to subtract 5 on the right-hand side to get x equals 2. Anything we do on one side, we also have to do on the other side. So let's look at our procedure for solving a multi-step equation. So right now I want you to pause the video and write down this procedure for solving multi-step equations. All right, now that you've written down the procedure, let's go through it. Our first step is always going to be start by using the distributive property if it's necessary. So if we see a problem like 5 times x plus 3 equals 18, our first step is going to say 5 times x is 5x, 5 times 3 is 15, and then we have equals 18. So our first step is always going to be use the distributive property. Then we're going to combine the like terms on either side. Now this example I did up here doesn't have any like terms, but if, for example, we said something like 7b plus 4 minus 2b equals 10, well, 7b and 2b are like terms, I get 5b plus 4 equals 10. Next, we're going to use adding and subtracting to get all of our variables on one side. Like, for example, if I had 20r plus 5 equals 21r minus 10, well, to get all our variables on both sides, I would subtract 20r over here, subtract 20r over here, so I get 5 equals r minus 10. All right, and then I'd undo any adding or subtracting. For example, on this one, I would add 10 here, add 10 here, 15 equals r. Then I would undo any multiplying or dividing, and then finally, if there's anything left in the grouping symbols, that's when I do it. So let's take a look at an example. Example 1 says, solve for x. Now I've got 3x minus 8 plus 4x equals 2 times 2x plus 5. So our first step is that we want to use the distributive property. So we've got this equation, 3x minus 8 plus 4x equals 2 times 2x plus 5. And my first step is I want to distribute out this 2. 2 times 2x and 2 times 5. We know 2 times 2x is 4x and 2 times 5 is 10. So I get this equation right here. My left side stays the same, my right side becomes 4x plus 10. Now my next step is that I want to combine the like terms on either side. Now my right side has no like terms, 4x and 10 are not like terms. But on my left side, 3x and 4x are like terms, so I want to combine them to get 7x. All right, so now I have 7x minus 8 equals 4x plus 10. Now I want to get all of my variables on both sides, meaning I want to get all of my x's on one side for this equation. Well, the way we want to do that is we want to take our smaller number of variables, so my 4x, and move it over so that it's with my larger number of variables. So if this is a positive 4x, the only way for me to move that variable over to the other side is to subtract it from this side so that I get rid of it. Now remember, anything I do over here, I have to also do over here. So if I take 4x away on the right side, I have to also take 4x away on the left side. And I'm left with 3x minus 8 equals 10. 4x minus 4x cancels out, and 7x minus 4x is 3x. So now I'm left with the two-step equation, 3x minus 8 equals 10. My next step is to add, because my whole point is to try to get x by itself, so I'm going to add 8 over here to cancel out. I must then also add 8 over here, and I get 3x equals 18. So my last step now, I've got 3 times x equals 18. I want to get x by itself, so my last step is just to divide. So I divide by 3 on this side, divide by 3 on the right side. 3 divided by 3 is just 1, so they cancel. And 18 divided by 3 is 6. So the answer I come to is x equals 6. So you can see that we just followed that procedure that I showed you on the last slide. We start by using the distributive property. Then we combine our like terms on either side. Then we move all of our variables so that they're on one side. Then we undo any adding or subtracting we see, and then we undo any division that we see. All right, so let's look at one more example. For this example, I'd like you to pause the video, write the example down, and try it before I go over the answer. All right, now that you've tried this problem, let's check your work with mine and see if we got the same answer. So looking at this equation, we see that we do have the distributive property. We've got -3 times 8 and -3 times -6. And that's really important that we're careful to see that because of this subtraction symbol here, this isn't just 3 times 8, it's -3 times 8, and it's -3 times -6 because I've got this subtraction symbol here. So if I do that, -3 times 8 is -24, and -3 times -6 is +18. So I end up with the equation we see here. Now our second step is to combine any like terms we see on either side. If we look at the right, we have 2x plus 20. Neither one of those two are like terms. On this side, I have 12 minus 24 plus 18x. Well, 12 and -24, these are both like terms. If I do that subtraction, 12 minus 24 is -12. And 18 does not have a like term to go with it. So I end up with the equation -12 plus 18x equals 2x plus 20. All right, so our next step is we want to get all of our variables on one side. So our larger variable is 18x, smaller variable is 2x, so I want to move this 2 over to be with the 18. The only way to get rid of it on the right side is to subtract 2x over here. So they just cancel out. And then I must also subtract 2x over here. So 18 minus 2 is 16, so I get the equation -12 plus 16x equals 20. All right, so now we've got a two-step equation to work with. I want to start by adding 12 to both sides to get rid of the 12 on the left. These cancel. 20 plus 12 is 32, so I get 16x equals 32. So our last step now is just to divide both sides by 16 to get rid of the 16 over here, and I get x equals 32 divided by 16, which is 2. All right, so once again, we did the distributive property, combined like terms, moved all our variables to one side, undid addition or subtraction, and then undid multiplication or division. So I'm going to leave you with a try-it problem for you to do. It says solve for x, and you're given the equation 4 times 2x minus 3 equals 2 times x plus 1 plus 4.